Thanks for listening to the NVTV podcast, produced by Nequa Media.
Welcome to this episode of the NVTV podcast. I'm Olivia Alamillo. On today's show, we will be talking about Nequa's very own marching band and the things you may not know about it. Joining me today is Mr. Oliver, one of the marching band directors, and Anvi Kaisla, one of the band's drum major. Thank you for being here today. Okay, so I just wanted to start off with Mr. Oliver. So how would you describe your past marching band experience?
Yeah, so I was a member of my high school marching band. I went to Naperville Central High School, so right down the street. I was a part of the Marching Illini in college, and I did a little bit of drum corps too, which is kind of a professional marching band.
Okay, and what would you say is something that really makes you enjoy marching band?
I like that all of us are working together towards a similar goal, but all from our own different perspective. The musicians are working in one way, and the percussionists and the guard in their own way, and so it all comes together to be a pretty cool final production.
And Avi, what would you say about being drum major and your experience of marching band as well?
I think this year, coming in from a drum major perspective, I've seen a lot from the bird's eye view. I think last year as a marcher, it was more the sax section, and then I have my friends who I know in my schools and classes. But then being the drum major, I see all these little communities and how it builds up into one big community. There's so many different people in marching band, but everyone, like Mr. Oliver's saying, we're all working towards a common goal, and we're all united by that. And it's really cool to see how our community just builds up, and we're all a family there.
Yeah. And what would you guys say would really helps marching band stand out compared to other activities that Nequa offers?
I mean, yeah, definitely the community, because I think this is one of the most supportive communities I've ever been a part of. I could be having the worst day ever at school, I just want to go home, and then I come into the band room right before marching band, and it's my energy is just completely lifted, because people are so they're so understanding, they're so upbringing. And then again with marching band, there's just so much happening. There's music, there's marching, and then there's the little things, and we're all there's so much happening that it has variety. And with a lot of other clubs, it's with sports, for example, you're working towards building yourself a lot, but then with marching band, it's there's so many little things that people have their own strengths and weaknesses, so we just build each other up.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I think a cool thing about marching band is that it is everybody in, freshman through senior, which is a pretty unique activity or sport or competitive anything. And so getting a chance for the freshmen to work with seniors and sophomores to work with juniors and learn from them, and it kind of establishes a culture that we can carry through year to year.
Yeah. And as you brought up about the music, what do you so how is music chosen, for not only for halftime, but for other things that the band plays? How would you say that's chosen and arranged?
Well, if we're talking about the show, the directors pretty much get together right around November, right after marching band stops, and we start talking about ideas for the next show. What have we done in the past few years? What do we want to do going forward? We try to do a mix of classical music and pop music and jazz music so that somebody marching 4 years would have a wide experience of different things. Yeah. When it comes to things like the dance team tunes, the dance team actually chooses those for us. So they ask us, would you play these for us? And we say, absolutely, pick up the pieces and learn them.
Okay, and this year's show on Rhapsody in Blue, can you go into more detail about what it's about and how it was chosen? Well,
yeah, absolutely. The band actually did a Rhapsody in Blue show about 20 years ago. I think 2004 is when they last did it. And so there was some memory of that. Back then it was just the show, it was the music, not so much an arrangement of it. So Mr. Schwegler, who's one of our orchestra directors here and arranges the music, decided he'd do kind of a different take on it and take ideas from it and string it together into a completely new thing. And so that was our idea to approach it that way.
Yeah. And for the drill, the movements on the field, how would you say, how do you create that and how do you?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time listening to the music first, figuring out where it makes sense to have a change of direction, where the music feels like it's ending and a new idea is starting. And then from there, I try to go from we call them in the marching band big star moments, the big moments of the show where we're trying to get applause, we're trying to do a big effect. I start with those and kind of work my way back. So what do I want the big moment to look like, and then how do I get there? It's like a big puzzle. And it ends up, or maybe a maze is more accurate, because you hit dead ends and you have to go back and you try again. And so it's a process that takes most of the summer, but it's fun. It's like a big puzzle.
Yeah. And Anvi, from a marching perspective, like how would you describe like learning drill and like, what it takes in the summer along with music too?
I think the biggest thing that I learned helped is like you can't just memorize your music. You have to be thinking about the multiple things you're doing. So you have to like mark time is what we call it when we're like pretending we're marching and our feet are like tapping on the ground. But you have to be conscious of the multiple things you're doing. And then later in the season, that's where it gets applied. So I remember my freshman year, like going into that, there's a lot going on. It's a little bit of an overwhelming process, but we do things like fundies where we like learn just the techniques of it. And then when you apply it to the show, then it's, you're like only doing the marching at first and then we do the music. So it's really helpful that we build on things, but the biggest thing is we're always adapting. So I think in the beginning your mindset is, okay, I need to learn my dots. That's more important because if I miss my dot, then someone else could get hurt. And then it's adding the music and how do I preserve my posture while I'm playing. And then we focus on how do I not look down at the field? How do I look straight forward? How do I look at a drum major for music? And there's just so much happening, but when you go through it in the process that we do in marching band, which is building on it one by one, then it really works.
And like also you mentioned drum major, like how would you feel like what is the importance of your role? Like what is your favorite part about it too? So yeah.
I think the most important part of drum major is definitely being like a supportive person. I think like obviously the directors are there for like your guidance, but then I think the drum major is someone who is like at your age, someone who's more relatable to you, and they're also just there to support you. So like I would think of it like a beacon of hope, if that's not too cringe, but just someone who is there to like pick up your day, someone who like you can talk to whenever, someone who knows enough about what they're doing, about what the music is, that they can help you if you need help with marching. And the thing that I really like about this year's, me and Arav, my other drum major, he's a percussionist and I'm a wind player, so whenever the pit has a question, like usually it's not my area of strength, so he will like build up, but then if like a freshman marcher has a question about like backward sides, their percussion techniques are in marching are a little different than ours, so then I can like step up. And like I really like how our team works together, like me and Arav, because we like complement each other, and with that then we like help and support the band.
Mm-hmm. And as you're bringing up like being like a leadership role, how would you like what advice would you say like there is for incoming marchers or people that may be interested in joining marching band?
I think the biggest thing is to just put yourself out there. Like I mean, you might think of it as like, I know there's stereotypes with marching band, oh, it's all the nerds, and then there's also like, oh, there's so much happening where like you have to learn a lot and there's so much going on. But the biggest thing is when you put yourself out there, you realize that, oh, like you're actually able to be yourself. Like that's the biggest thing I've learned from marching band is like there's so many different personalities, and when you come there, it's just somewhere where you can like find your people, find a community, find people to rely on. And especially for freshmen coming in, like you already know familiar faces, you know seniors, juniors, and sophomores, so you have people to already rely on. And so the advice that I would give is to just try it, even if it's just for 1 year. I think the biggest thing you can do is just see what it's like, because if anything, like there's so many people that even come in sophomore year and they're like, wow, I wish I did this freshman year, I wish I put myself out there.
Yeah, and about also with performances, like how would you guys describe like not only the performances at football games, but like competitions and other like parades?
Yeah, I think we were deep into the season now. We've done a parade, we've done a number of football games, and we have our first competition coming up. And so a lot of what that is building confidence to be able to just do what we've been practicing in the moment that we want to do it. It's a lot of rehearsal and a lot of practice and sweat and all this stuff for essentially 10 minutes on a football field a couple times. So getting ourselves mentally in the right place, physically in the right place, and prepared, that's kind of the key. We want to show our best when we have that opportunity, because you really don't get that many opportunities to really perform through a season. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Also with like like the nervousness that comes with performing, what advice would you give to someone who's like really like scared about it?
Yeah, I think the thing that we talk about often, and I like to talk about a lot, is the football field is always the football field. It doesn't matter whether it's in our practice field by the soccer fields, or it's in our stadium, or it's at the University of Illinois' field. The field's dimensions are always the same. It's always the exact same, the distance from the 50 to the 45, front sideline to front hash. And so when students can just kind of remember that and get themselves in the place of rehearsal, which it usually calms them down, it takes muscle memory takes over, and they can kind of get rid of some of those nervousness.
Yeah, Mr. Oliver, you should bring up your analogy about the hat.
Oh, sure. I always talk about putting good reps in the hat. So the idea being that you have this hat or this bucket, and every time you practice something, you're putting that version of it into the hat. And so when you go into a performance, you pull one out at random. And the more good reps you put into the hat, the more good repetitions, the more times you've done it accurately, the higher the chances that you pull a good one at the performance.
Yeah. And along with like performances and like, what are some challenges that you would say the band faces, like just in general?
One on the top of my head was just like at the last football game, it started raining out of nowhere. And the biggest thing is it's like we could march through it, but for our instruments, it's not good for especially woodwind instruments for water to get in there. But the like biggest thing is, how can we adapt so quickly? Like, because with things like weather, like sometimes our rehearsals can get rained out, sometimes things don't go our way, and the biggest thing that I think our marching band is really good at is adapting. So like at our football game, we were all ready to just run right after a performance or run right before. We didn't know what was going on. We were relying on the directors, but everyone still had that mindset of, okay, I'm going to perform. And then right after, we adapted quickly and we just left the field. But the biggest thing is like we've learned to adapt.
And one group to really shout out during that was the color guard, because you add water to those flags, and all of a sudden it's like a physical like weight workout trying to get those things to spin and throw them in the air, and they did a really, really nice job. That was quite challenging.
Thank you to Mr. Oliver and Anvi for joining us today on the NVTV podcast. The NVTV podcast is produced by media students at Nico Valley High School. Enjoy the rest of your day.